Welcome to the real journey of the entrepreneur. The journey of any entrepreneur begins with a decision, then writing down your vision, then the execution of that vision. It is not for the faint of heart. It is for those who understand how powerful your mind is and that you can truly create the life that you deserve. It does require a unique formula that includes belief in yourself, a lot of consistency, connecting with an OG, a lot of tears, missing out on a few events and things, and taking a whole lot of risks that will allow you to see your vision and dream come to pass. This journey of the entrepreneur is from the perspective of a wonderful mother, a business owner, whose goal is to break generational barriers and normalize the process of wealth building and financial wellness through entrepreneurship, all while creating a social and give back along the way. I am sharing this journey with you and invite you to share this process with me. Let's do this together. It's my own, but you have to feel comfortable to own it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? I will always support you.
Thank you.
Well, hey there, good people. Hey there, good people. I am so excited to have you join us for another episode of The Real Journey of Entrepreneurship. My name is Anita Pierce, and I'm the founder and CEO of 11375. We are here to provide support to you through another method, which is educating entrepreneurs and telling the truth about what entrepreneurship really looks like. It is not for the faint of heart, but it is doable. It is very doable with a lot of consistency. Sometimes we cry, do a lot of prayers, do a lot of fasting. We are engaging in creating this dream of ours. And it does require you taking some risk on yourself. So, welcome to the ride. This is what it looks like. We have courageous entrepreneurs who are willing to share their portion of the journey, what it looks like to be in business, how it gets started, what funding they would need to help them to create the dreams that they are consistently working on. And my next guest, guess what, is absolutely no different. I had the opportunity of meeting our guests as we sat jointly on a panel discussion for a Women's History Month presentation, and I was in awe. In awe, one, because of what was being presented, but in awe just of hearing just about the journey, her journey, Patia's journey in the space of entrepreneurship. And again, when you hear my guests speak, you will understand why I was in awe and still in awe. And we actually crossed paths again this year. Um, Patia is serving as a business advisor for the Goldman Sachs 1 Million Black Women. I happen to serve as a mentor for the chosen, I think it's over 200 participants for this specific year. And I happen to be a business elected as a business mentor, sharing some of my experiences, but also being connected to some amazing and dope entrepreneurs who just so happen to be beautiful, courageous Black women. So there you have it. But enough of me, right? Enough of me. Let me just share just a little bit about my just a little bit, just a little bit. Digital marketing strategist, right? You know, we're in the space of digital marketing, social media. You know, we got to make sure that, things are in line, brand connected, campaigns, all those things. Well, guess what? I have an expert here. No, it's not me, not today. But it is someone who does have significant experience, more than 15 years of experience. And when you look and see my guest, guess what? You're going to say, not a day over 20. But anyway, the why I'm so excited, additionally, besides all the things that I have described, is really learning and unpacking about online campaigns and how does that impact our brand and our business. And guess what? Here we go. No more of me, the side of me. I'm gonna just bring, hi Patia, you're here. How are you?
Oh, hello, hello. I am so happy we're finally able to do this. Thank you so much for inviting me.
I know. Listen. We are in a space where we are continuously building and creating the life that we imagine. And sometimes it does take a while, but
Yes,
when we get it, it becomes here we are, and we are crossing all of those good paths and dots and T's.
absolutely.
How
Absolutely.
are you today?
I am doing well, thank you. How are you?
I am doing good. So I don't do the best justice when doing introductions. So tell us a little bit more about who you are, how you are engaged in creating a wonderful space at the Stylist Group. Do tell.
Yes, absolutely. So the time has gone really quickly, but this year is 15 years, believe it or not, since I founded the Stylista Group after working about 12 years in corporate America.
Mm,
Right? I was lucky enough to start my career doing marketing. A lot of people kind of evolve. And when I started my career, it was right at the beginning of digital marketing becoming a thing. So I
mm,
really seen, and I always chuckle to myself because what we call digital marketing then and what digital marketing has become, it's been a long, long, long journey, right? And so at the Stylista Group, when the opportunity came, which was really me being downsized from corporate America and me deciding I was going to take my destiny into my own hands,
mm,
what we really, really strive to do is to connect small and medium sized businesses to their tribe in the online space. And I think one of the things that are really important for any business to understand, specifically a small business, is that the digital space is so vast. There's so much information out there. There's a lot of misinformation out there. You really only need to figure out who your ideal target customers are and where they are engaging online. As a small business, you really cannot cater to everyone anyway. That's not good marketing anyway. Marketing one-on-one speaks to your target audience, right? You're shaking your head because you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? So the key here is one of my older taglines used to say we help you find your tribe. And it's exactly that. Starting off with who your ideal target customer is, and then figuring out in the online space where they are actively engaging and purchasing,
mm,
right? So that may mean for you that you only need to be on two platforms, which a lot of people don't like to hear. Everybody wants to be everywhere. That may not be the right decision for you to make, right? And so we really do a good job in the beginning, and this is where strategy is important in strategizing really closely with our clients to ensure that when we do launch whatever campaigns that we're launching, that we are actually in the right place, speaking to the right people. And I think that was true of traditional marketing, right? The fundamentals of what makes a digital marketing campaign successful lies on what made a traditional marketing campaign
mm,
successful, right? And I like to say that that is one of the fundamental beliefs that I have as a digital marketing agency that may separate me from other digital marketing agencies. We rely heavily on the best practices of traditional marketing to make digital campaigns successful.
Okay, you unpacked a lot. I don't even know where to begin, but I'm gonna start with um being that we are in a very similar space right now, mentoring, coaching,
Mhm.
providing advice to small businesses, and this is a platform where we like to tell the truth about what it looks like
Right.
when we're just starting our business. How do we really define our target market? Because I can tell you, when I first started 11375, it was
Mhm.
11375 event management,
Mhm.
because I took, from corporate, I love that everyone's transitioned from that space
Mhm.
to figuring out that events, which is essentially in my head project management, um, and doing certain things because people hired me based upon what I accomplished or skill sets that I have,
Right.
right? When I first started, I didn't know where I was doing because I didn't have initial aspirations for being in business anyway. That's to be honest. So
Same.
I would, stick my foot in one area and stick my toe in another area, and it was where I generated, I guess, the most revenue at the time is where I landed. That's not what I do now, right? What recommendation, because you're in this space, when someone is just getting started, how do they really target who their tribe is?
Yeah. So by the way, since we're being honest here, I kind of did the same thing, right? I had no aspirations to be an entrepreneur,
Mm,
right? And so what you do, you hang up your shingle and you're like, I got to make some money. These bills
right,
need to be paid. And
right.
it took me about, honestly, 3 to 4 years for me to really find my niche, right? We were a generalist agency, anybody who needed digital marketing. And over time, it became very clear that that was not the way to go. And
Mhm.
also, we realized, just because of natural interest, skill, there's certain industries where digital marketing is a little easier to do, that the clients that we were doing the best work for fit into what I like to say lifestyle brands. So beauty, fashion, personal care, restaurants, boutique hotels. And that was an aha moment. Like, guess what?
Mhm.
Why are we taking on these clients that we don't necessarily enjoy doing work for? We're not necessarily getting the best results for, while over here we're like shining.
Right.
So at that point, I did a rebrand and I focused. And the truth is that most entrepreneurs, you kind of like build a plane as you're flying, and that's okay. However, if the resources are available to you, so programs like Goldman, there's so many incubators, that sort of thing, that kind of like speed you, right? Speed you forward, right? You don't need to spend 3, 4 years figuring it out. I think what you really need to understand is what your unique value proposition is. Like, what is it that you're actually providing, your product or your service? And also understanding your competitive landscape. For some reason that I would never understand, small business owners tend to operate with tunnel vision.
Right.
The minute you say competitors, I don't have any competitors. What are you talking about?
Right.
How can you not have competitors? Nobody else is doing what I'm doing. Are you sure?
Sure. Right.
You right, Anita? I know I'm preaching to the choir here, right? And so if you just took a moment in time, it's a small but important and pivotal moment in time, to just sit down and actually outline what is my unique value proposition, what makes me different from the competition. To know that, you have to know what the competition is. And then also observing. One of the great things about digital marketing is that everything is out there for you to see. You can see what your competitors are doing. You can see the interactions they're having with their audiences. You can see the reviews to see where possibly they may be missing the mark. So, hey, I know I can do that better, right? And having this sort of like really open intelligence, which didn't exist before digital marketing. You had to pay a lot of money to get industry reports, and they're outdated and all of this stuff. Business library on 34th Street, great information, but took you hours before you could get the data you were looking for. Don't really need to do that anymore, right? And so you really have to understand the value of what you are providing, who those people out there that already buy into the value of what you're providing, right? Because a lot of times I feel, and I did this in the beginning, we spend so much time trying to sell people on the value. The people who are your tribe, they already buy into the value. But if you yourself can't articulate what that value is, then therein lies another problem, right? And then once you figure that out, you can say, okay, this is where I fit in the marketplace. These are the people who already buy into the value of whatever I'm providing. And now I need to come up with a way to present myself strategically in front of them.
Mm. That's a whole
That's
class.
a whole lot.
I know you teach, but it's so true. Everything that you said about, you know, how you begin, and when you enter into accelerators, the reason why it's an accelerator is that you don't have to spend 5 years, 3 years, trying to define,
Right.
what it is that who you're serving, who
Exactly.
you're selling to.
Exactly.
Like it's just,
Exactly.
well, I think about, where I am now to where I was, a few years ago. And I'm thinking,
Mhm.
my goodness, like had I had an accelerator or had I had somebody to just pull me, a little bit faster, I could have
Right.
been here. But I am where I'm supposed to be. And this is
Yes.
where is my
Yes.
truth right now
Yes.
in
Yes.
spite of all things. So I am so glad that you unpacked that because when you're thinking about digital marketing campaigns, right? And
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
you put a nail in the side to say that I don't need to be on all the platforms. What are you saying? What are you saying to me? I don't need to be on the platforms. I don't need to be on what is it? Pinterest, X, Y,
I'm
Z,
saying,
A, B. You know, you tell me I don't need all of those things?
I am saying that if your ideal customer is not actively engaging in those platforms, that absolutely no, you do not need to be there. Because what will happen is that you will spend lots of time and resources in the small businesses, and I'm including myself in this, right? We have limited resources, and you will be expending those resources trying to convert an audience that is not interested in whatever you are selling or the services you're providing. Doesn't make sense, right? If large companies do not do this, then as a small business owner, you really don't have, the time or resources, or you should not be spreading yourself too thin. And there are times when I work with clients, say, for example, beauty. If you're in the beauty industry, it is conceivable that you could be on all of the major platforms. That's one industry where you could be on all of the major platforms.
Right.
So then now becomes the question of all of those platforms, which is the one that's most likely to give you the results you're looking for. And when I say results, this is another thing. Results doesn't necessarily mean revenue. Actually, it will not mean revenue initially. Let's just get that out of the way. There's
Yep.
several things that you can achieve on your way to revenue. You can be building your emailing list. You
Mm.
can be having people attend webinars or events. You can, right? There's several things that happen before actual conversion to revenue, right? So even if you're in a space where it would make sense for you to be on all of the platforms, you have to now figure out of these 5 platforms, where is my audience most active? Where am I most likely to build an engaged community? And it is quite okay to build that digital presence over time. So maybe it's like, let me start with TikTok and Instagram because that's where everything's going on right now. And then when you build that really engaged audience and possibly even convert it, now I'm going to go and try to conquer Pinterest. Because the thing is, all of these platforms require resources, especially today. In the beginning, I have built really strong Facebook pages, specifically say Facebook pages, before advertising was a thing.
Mm.
And there was a best practice in how you did that back then. The minute ads became a thing, none of that works anymore. Unless you're running advertising campaigns, you can do all of that old stuff that no longer works, right? You have to be spending ad dollars. And so as you expand into other platforms, it requires additional resources. And so if you don't have those resources, I always say I would prefer for a brand to have 2 really strong digital profiles with email marketing. That's another thing. People think social media is the end all and be all of everything. No, you gotta you gotta have some sort of email marketing going on. To date, for every dollar spent on email marketing, when it's done correctly, we can talk about what that means. We get $45 return on investment. That stat has not changed in my entire 20-something year career. Right? I would prefer for you to have 2 really strong social media profiles with some email marketing as opposed to having 6. They're half managed. We haven't updated it in years. That does not really speak well to, in terms of credibility of your brand. Because we're all right, we go looking around. So you meet someone, you go, you look at their website, you're clicking around to their social media. And then if you see like, oh my God, this page hasn't been updated in a year, you're kind of like, well, what's going on here, right? This is all about having a strong digital presence. And so, this is why working with someone who can help you to strategize, even if you're a teeny tiny business, can be so helpful, because those are things that someone can advise you to do. Take your time, choose wisely, right? This is how you actually get return on your investment from engaging in the digital space. And what does return on investment mean? People always think money. It's not going to be money right away. There are other things, right, that you can achieve on your way to getting that money.
There's two things that I want to have you elaborate on.
Mm-hmm.
The first is dealing with marketing and ad campaigns, right? So we know that everything is not everything. Majority of it is pay to play, right?
Yeah. Yes.
How much do you recommend for a small business who's just getting started? When I mean just getting started, meaning they just literally open their doors and they're trying to get, you know, viral, the buzz out for their business. What is the recommended dollar spend or budgeted line item for those who are just starting up?
Yeah, that's a very general question. So I would say, and it differs by industry, right? There
Mhm.
are two main campaigns you should be running on social media. One is your community growth campaign, so that will expose your page to your target audience. Because if people go looking at your page, you have 10 followers, that does not look good, right? I would spend less on that, and I'll talk about budget. But the majority of your campaign at that point in time should be spent on growing your email list. Why is that important? Because the reason why email marketing works is because you pay for that contact, that piece, that data, that piece of information one time, and you can then repeatedly have access to that person over time. I would say for a small business, you should be budgeting and this is bare bones minimum. I
Right,
would say $500 a month. That's bare bones minimum.
right.
Now, depending on the industry you're in, right, that may or may not be enough. And usually you don't know that until you start running the campaigns. And I'll give you an explanation of why. Ad campaigns, it's an auction, right? It's a bid strategy sort of thing. And so as a small business, you can easily be outbid. Once you start collecting names in the digital space, you are actually competing against your competitors. And so what happens is that the price for per that piece of data can go up and down depending on who's in the game that day. So for example, I can tell you I remember running an ad campaign for my 6-year-old school. And they wanted to increase their admissions, especially after COVID.
Mhm.
And so the cost per lead, right? Now we're talking leads because you're collecting data. The cost per lead for that campaign was about $16 on Facebook. This is a couple years ago. Now it may be more, $16, right? So you can see how a $500 budget would go pretty quickly if you're paying $16 per lead,
Right.
right? I've run other campaigns where the cost per lead is $5 or $10, right? And so the thing is, marketing is all about testing. And so
Mhm.
while I may say start off with that $500 budget, based on the results you get, you will then be in a better position to say, okay, for this $500 this month, I got 20 leads. Important thing here. Once you start collecting leads, though, you have to do something with them. This is just not about funneling the leads and putting them on ice. You better have some sort of nurturing campaign that will start, right? Sending information, inviting people to, in this case, open houses, whatever it is, as quickly as possible so that those people still recall their interaction with you from that ad. So this is a whole process here, right? And so the reason why, so if with the 500 budget, I would say allocate 300 to building your mailing list and maybe 200 to building the community, right? So that in that way you're actually, building a footprint that will become impressive over time. But at the same time, you're building a funnel of qualified leads, because by the way, when you target these ads, you're going to target them to attract your ideal customer, right? And so what you are actually doing with the lead generation and the funnel that's going to follow up on those leads is you are kind of like fast tracking right? The conversion to revenue, because obviously those are the people that would most likely buy from you, whatever that means at some point in time. And then building the online community is where you can begin to engage and have a decent digital footprint.
Okay, so you started to and thank you for that because I
Mhm,
think it's more you're doing a lot more educating and just instead of just throwing out fluff, which I really am grateful for.
mhm.
So my follow-up question, which you started to, is about the email list, right?
Right.
And the why you should have it. So the other thing that I would love to have you unpack,
Mhm.
if you may, is the fact that we do not own the social media platforms.
Yes.
And so I know many of us have experienced the shutdown and the panic and
Yes.
oh my
Yes.
gosh, I don't have access to Instagram or what like it's just been terrifying,
Mhm.
if you do
Mhm.
not have
Mhm.
another way to communicate to your tribe. Please elaborate and give us some tools about what else we should be doing.
Yes, absolutely. So when social media became more mainstream,
Mhm.
there were a group of people like myself who were advising, especially small business owners, that they didn't really need a website anymore because Facebook could be like their website, and it can. And I never agreed with that.
Right.
Simple fact of everything that you just said. The algorithms change, the rules change. Now you have to spend ad money. I would say the most important digital presence that everyone can have is their own branded website.
Mm.
One of the major goals of your social media presence and your digital campaigns, specifically your paid campaigns, should be to drive traffic to your website. Why? You own your website, you can update it, the algorithm's not going to change, right? This is the main hub of your business. If you think of a wheel, you know how a wheel looks? There's a thing in the middle, I don't know what it's called, and then you have
Right.
the spokes, right?
Right.
That center well is your website.
Right.
Think of social media and email marketing and podcasts and everything else, right? Those are the supporting things that should ultimately lead to your website. Your website is your hub of information. Your website should also be collecting data like email addresses as well, right? So website first and foremost. I would say before you run setting up social media profiles, please have a website
Mm.
first. Then you can worry about the social media profiles. And of course, I will always say you have to have some sort of mechanism for targeted email marketing as well.
You just gave a whole sermon. Um, the yeah, and I just wanna just, tag on to that and just to really emphasize about
Mhm.
having even if you don't have the budget right now to hire the stylista group, right? Just
Yes,
really mapping something out to say these are the areas that I am going to focus in, and not just relying holistically on platforms that you don't own. They're
exactly.
used as tools to help
Exactly.
us get our name out, our brand out, to capture
Mhm.
clients. But that
Mhm.
is not to be the end all.
Right.
It
Right.
it really is not, although we like it although, there is, revenue that is generated. So I don't wanna omit, and say that you can't do anything, but there has to be social media, meaning the platforms, is a part of a strategy. I saw you were
Absolutely.
about to say something.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is. I like to say it's an important piece of the marketing puzzle,
Right,
right? So there are different things that you should be doing, and understanding that as a small business, you probably will not be able to do everything all at once,
right.
right? And I think when there are limited resources, that is when you should strategize and be smart about what you're doing, right? And so I would say website, social media, definitely email marketing.
Definitely email marketing. So,
Mhm.
I'm gonna ask another question, and I'm gonna do a comma and because when I was the social media, and I'm saying these social media like it's because I remember, when I would use Instagram as like the starting point.
Right.
And I just remember when I was doing market research, I wanted to know what my competitors were doing. And that's where I was going to the curated space of social media,
Mm-hmm.
specifically Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And I struggled a bit, right, in the beginning because what do you mean they hopping out of a car? I'm just gonna tell you my mindset like
Yeah.
back then. What do you mean? And then when you start to really look at it's a curated space to get your attention, right?
Right.
And that my level of authenticity works specifically for me and my tribe, right?
Right. 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 Right.
But a lot of times we can get caught up in do we really need to be authentic and how transparent do we need to be in these spaces? What are your
Mhm.
thoughts
I would say one of your superpowers as a small business owner is that you can be authentic.
on that?
Okay, so now let me qualify that. Authentic does not mean that you have to tell all of your personal business and you have to disclose every single thing because
Wait.
people
Can you say that again? Can you can-
authentic does not mean that you have to tell every single detail of your personal life, right? We're still professionals.
right,
There's a time and place for everything. However, if you're having a bad day, we're talking about being entrepreneurs. We know
right,
it's like this. I tell
right,
people that all the time, right? You see me smiling and whatever. I have some really bad days as well, and I have no problem saying it.
right,
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the other things that people share in the spirit of being authentic that are not necessary or appropriate, right? However, we are still human beings, we're still emotional beings. People tend to want or to be attracted to people who they can make some sort of emotional connection,
mm,
right? So behind all of this technology, we still have that the need to see something in common, the need to connect, right?
right,
And as a small business owner, you can do that. You and I can get up here, right? And share our personal stories, right? That will give somebody inspiration. That somebody who may be feeling down will say, well, damn, even Patia in the beginning was kind of all over the place. I have no problem saying that because it's true. And so now, if I can help you to not do that, then that's what I want to do,
right,
right? And so I think you should absolutely be authentic because think of large brands, right? Like, you know, McDonald's, right? Like, is that you know, over time as you grow, and you should want to grow, but over time you lose the ability as a brand when you get too big to have that kind of human connection from the founder level anyway. Because
right,
I think even large brands, when you look at the campaigns that are successful, and there's some brands that do this really well. I think of Nike, I think of Dove, I think of Coca-Cola, right? You definitely have that sort of feeling of warmth or connecting to an idea or something. So they're still doing it, but it's no longer at the founder level, which is completely different, right? Founder stories have a different sort of draw and pull,
mm,
right? So I think some people struggle with, you know, do I have to be perfect? You know, because if I'm perfect, then people will think everything's okay. We all know that's not true. Anybody that's been a founder knows ain't nothing perfect about this journey. Okay, let's just say.
uh, yeah,
At the same time, there's also, you know, a line where you also have to be appropriate. And I think sometimes, and I'm thinking of a few people who I follow, where sometimes I'm like, okay, that was just a little bit too much. We didn't really need to know that part. You know what I mean? You
yeah,
know what I mean? And I'm gonna say this, and I know you know what I'm saying. Especially people of color, I feel sometimes that it is expected of us to have all of this extra drama and trauma. And some people only want to be connected. You understand what I'm trying to say? They only want to be connected and hear that. And then that's the only way they will support you. So I feel that a lot of people feed into that. And I can't stand it. It really bothers me. Right? Like, why do you have to have this, you know, traumatic sort of before people take notice? And
Right.
if that's your story, that's fine. But I also think that sometimes some people are playing into that. And I
Right.
know some cases where it's definitely not true. And I'm like, that didn't happen to you. Why are you saying that? But it's because, child, but it's because for some reason, that is what people want to hear. And now you're not being authentic, right? You're being performative,
Mm,
which
mm.
is another problem that some people have. You understand what I'm saying? Do you
I
know? Am
do.
I making sense?
No, you're making a lot of sense here. Yeah, so I am one to believe that your energy is exchanged by what you see, what you hear, what you listen to. And
Right.
so as I've matured, not that
Mm-hmm.
I'm perfect, I've matured in certain areas. I try to minimize what I am exposing myself to because it starts to have an impact on me, right?
Absolutely.
So I will give you an example. I am a heavy reader, right?
Mm-hmm.
I barely watch TV now. And
Mm-hmm.
it's
Hmm.
not because of anything except what I experienced through COVID. So
Right.
I couldn't figure out why when I watch, certain news stations, why do I
Mhm.
feel like such
Yeah.
angst?
Yeah.
And I started to make the connection that whenever I watch something, because my eyes are the windows, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Seeing things, and then it started to have an impact on how I was experiencing either for
Right.
that day. So I read a lot. And so what I take in, I pay attention to what's going on social media to dip into to inform, where I'm going in my business, seeing what's out there. I use it for market research, not for,
Right.
informing, um, you know, or feeding into what I
Mm-hmm.
call my healthy spirit. I try to maintain some sort of peace for
Right.
myself. That's not
Right.
for everybody. And I don't want to say or that is what you should be doing. That's just what I choose to do to protect my sanity and my peace.
Yeah.
And even as we are in this space of, to the point, I'm not looking to create anything that I can't live up to,
Right.
right? This
Right.
level of, being authentic or not,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
we both came from the corporate environment. We had to code switch a lot. I know I had to, and
I
I'm
did too. We all have to. We all have to.
don't
That's
want
just
to,
the way it
yeah,
is.
don't want to experience that now in business. I'm trying to
Right.
be who I
Right.
am as I grow. So I appreciate you sharing your
Mm-hmm.
thoughts on that. I have another question, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, what are some of the biggest pitfalls and challenges that you've noticed, specifically with very small businesses, mid-sized businesses that you've worked with?
Mm-hmm. I would say that, a lot of people start businesses because this is something they really love doing or they're good at, and they have preconceived notions on what the market wants.
Mm,
And so holding on to your idea or your way of delivery, without taking into consideration feedback, without taking into consideration, things that may have evolved.
mm,
And so you're stuck on this idea, or this is the way I have to do this because this is what I think the market wants, but the market is clearly telling you something else, right? And so you're not listening to the feedback, you're just going along the way you think you need to go along. And what happens is that the business will fail
mm,
because you are not providing a product or service that the market wants. In line with that would be, holding on to outdated marketing practices. In the 15 years that I've been in business, unfortunately, I've seen a lot of businesses who have been resistant to digital marketing, right? So, there are two things. Either you're trying and you're doing the wrong things because there's no strategy involved, or you decide, I'm not doing this at all. I
right, right.
don't like it, I'm uncomfortable, which is fine. But if this is what's going on in the marketplace, if this is where your customers are learning about businesses like you can't decide that you're not going to do this. And so those businesses have failed. And then also not knowing when it is time to get help.
Mm,
At
wow.
some point, you have to grow beyond the team of me Inc. and get help. You can't be me.com forever. It just doesn't work. You cannot. right? There's an element of trust or mistrusting people that goes along with that. Well, I don't want anybody in my business, or I don't want to tell, I've even had consultations where I'm asking people questions that I should be asking, and they're like, I don't want to talk about that. Okay, how am I supposed to help you? Trust me, I do not want to steal your idea. I do not want to, like, if I wanted to do your business, I would be doing it.
Yeah.
If you don't trust me, that somebody who could possibly help you, and I can't help everybody, I'm not Superwoman, right?
Right.
How is this business supposed to grow? Right? I can think of so many examples where over the years I try to connect people and introduce people, because I'm like, you guys are a match made in heaven. Together you could, da da da. No, I don't want them to know my secret or whatever it is. And then the next thing you know, they're done because they didn't take advantage of the opportunity to collaborate or that sort of thing, right? There's enough. We have to start embracing the concept of abundance.
Mm.
Enough out here for all of us. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be careful, because there are instances of people doing not so good things, right? And tying into that, if it's something that you have, a product or a service that's proprietary, then you should also take the steps to protect it, which is something else that people sometimes fail to do.
I just had to take a deep breath and pause moment, because so many of what you just stated resonates. So as you're building your business, you have to protect your business.
Mhm.
As you're building your business, you have to have individuals within your tribe that you're able to lean on and ask for help. You do not. So I can tell you that the lifeblood of
Mhm.
every business is relationships, right?
Yes, absolutely.
It's who you know, it's what you know too. Yes,
Mhm.
that's important, yes. But it's about when you're looking to, and you said it so eloquently, take it to the next level, you really have to ask for help.
Yeah.
And sometimes, right, when you're asking, and I'm speaking to myself because for a long period, I'm like, not that I didn't want to share, it's I didn't know how to ask for help, right? I did not know how to ask appropriately. And
Hmm.
I have a vast network. And
Yeah.
sometimes asking, can seem a little bit daunting, but I
Yes.
also know that there's a saying that I hear often. I'm from Brooklyn, that
Hmm.
closed mouth don't get fed. And so
Right.
if it's something that you actually need, even using language, saying, I don't really
Hmm.
know how to ask for this, but this is what I need. And I think that you have the background and experience that can help me in this area.
Exactly. Exactly. Absolutely. It's as easy as that. And you would be surprised, like, people want to help you.
Right.
Once you ask, it's like, oh my goodness, yes. And by the way, I know this other person who could also help you do this or whatever. And all of a sudden you have this very powerful network of people who want to see you want to see you succeed. It's amazing. It happens all the time
Because you had the courage to ask.
because you had the courage to ask. Yes, absolutely.
So I got some wrap up questions because I really could keep you here. You're such
I can come back. We can do a part
and you know what? I am gonna have you back, but I don't want to take up too much of your time for
no
today.
worries.
But I do have some just some additional questions to
Sure.
ask, because I know that this space is about providing realistic tools and tips. If
Yeah.
someone wanted to launch into your space,
Hmm.
1, 2, 3, what would you advise them?
Okay, so digital marketing specifically.
Digital marketing specifically.
Okay, yes. Great question, because I myself I'm starting to brainstorm of evolving to the next
Mm,
level of digital marketing would be. So I would say at this point in time, digital marketing as it has been is about to change. And
mm,
unless you've been under a rock, you should know this. And especially if you're trying to start a business. Hopefully you know this already, right?
right.
Um, AI is becoming a force to be reckoned with.
It sure is.
There's the metaverse that people don't quite understand, but that is definitely the next big thing that's going to happen. Mark Zuckerberg is not spending millions of dollars for no reason here, right? So what I would really do is get a clear understanding for what the next wave of digital marketing will be or will look like. AI is in there. Do the research on metaverse marketing. McKinsey is publishing a whole bunch of up and coming reports on both topics. And if you're launching a business 2025 and beyond, it doesn't make sense for you to launch a business that doesn't incorporate some version of that, because you should be launching a business for the future, not launching a business for the past, or right. Which is what sometimes people do. And to be honest, I'm going through some of that education myself. I have seen over the last 2 years how both of those things are impacting my business,
Right.
right? Clients are starting to ask, well, how are you using it? Are you going to use it? Well, if AI can do this, we're talking about pricing, right? There was a time, real talk here, there was a time when I could easily, for my ideal target customer, not everybody, put together a proposal, and I have a copywriter, a graphic designer, the ad person, 4 or 5 people on a team with the price that justifies that. And they're like, okay, I know this is what it's going to cost me to have this team of amazing people.
Right.
Now people are like, well, do you need the copywriter? Why can't you just use ChatGPT?
Mm.
Why we have to, right? Do you really need the graphic designer all the time for this campaign? I'm reading, right? Because there's a whole bunch of information out there. Half of it's wrong, but it's okay.
Right.
Why can't you just use, the image generator to create the graphic content for my campaign? Why do we still have to pay for, right? So ding, ding, ding. If you are launching into this space, I would say educate yourself and understand what's coming next, and launch a business that is being launched with the future in mind, so that as these things become more mainstream, you're already positioned as a thought leader in the space. You already have a good understanding of all of this stuff, right? Because I can tell you that everyone in my space that I've spoken to are they're starting to experience some of what I just shared with you. I mean, and even for me, I have a relationship with an AI platform that specializes in ads. And I've got to tell you, the results, I'm pretty good at doing ads, but the results of this platform are pretty good. And it's because AI doesn't sleep, right? And so just to explain what it does is that, say you're spending, I don't know, $5,000 on your digital ad spend, right? You're pretty, significant e-commerce brand, small business, that's still a small budget, but $5,000. What the AI does is that in real time, you have to build, this is where human beings will always be important. So
Right.
you build the strategy, you tell the AI what the goals are, right? And you're advertising on all the platforms. So you're doing Google, Pinterest, Facebook, whatever, TikTok, wherever you are. In real time, the AI says, you know what? Nothing going on Facebook right here. I'm going to take the money away from Facebook and put it to Google because you just got 20 sales from Google. So we want to keep doing that. I can't do that. I'm sleeping at 3 a.m. I'm not up at 3 a.m. Right? I have to wait for my weekly report to say, oh man, we should have.
Right.
Right. And so, like, those are the things that I'm thinking about for my business. Like, how can I use this to make my business more efficient, to show value add to a customer, to get even better results, that sort of thing. So if you are, to go back to your original question, if you want to get into this space, you need to be aware of how technologies are changing, and you need to make sure that you launch a business that is launched with the future in mind, not the past. That would be my best advice to someone.
I just want to say thank you for that, because there are so many, there are thousands of businesses that are starting, um,
Mm-hmm.
and specifically in your area of expertise.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you hit it in a point where you are building for the future,
Right. Right.
uh, not for your own personal
Right.
belief,
Right.
um, but you're building to help people, you
Right.
know, if that is a part of your process to help going for the,
Mm-hmm.
and that's, so you just hit it right on the nail, and I really appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's really important. When
Mm.
as you know, I teach at Lehman, and I started incorporating AI and metaverse into my classes because these kids, like, that's going to be their life.
Right.
You cannot be graduating college in 2020, whatever, 25 and beyond, and not be aware that this is what's going on, right? And a lot of the times for communities of color, access is the problem,
Mm.
right? So a lot of my students have never experienced the metaverse, but then I say, you have a little brother that plays Roblox, that's the
Mm.
metaverse.
That's right.
And then it clicks, and then I'm like, Fenty Beauty has a store in Roblox. Why is that smart? Because when the little girls play the Roblox game with the Fenty Beauty stuff, they're activating the customers for the future. So it goes from gaming to, now mommy said I could wear lip gloss at 13, and I'm in Sephora. And where am I headed to? The Fenty Beauty aisle, because I've been putting Fenty Beauty on my little doll thing, whatever you call it, avatar. I have a
And
9-year-old. She'd be like, Mommy, what do you mean doll thing? Avatar. I've been putting Fenty Beauty lip gloss on my avatar. So now that I can wear lip gloss, where am I headed to? The Fenty Beauty aisle, right?
smart.
Very smart.
Yeah, I have a 9-year-old going on 50,
Child,
and
it's a thing.
it's
It's
a whole
brilliant.
it's a whole new learning for me. And that is the other reason why I have to monitor, what's being
Yes,
played,
yes,
and this
yes.
whole building cities, and I'm like, so yeah,
And they
that's a
are
whole new
good
learning.
at it. They are so, it's like they're born ready. I'm telling you. My daughter does the same thing. Build cities. She makes money. She's like a millionaire in Roblox.
How do you
How
convert
can
that
you,
in real life life?
how can we make this real? Exactly. They are ready for it though. They are ready.
But I like the process as to how you explained it. It's a very large brand that is connecting to the future. That means that we need to be making money to afford these lifestyles that they're being
Yeah,
influenced by at 9.
at 9. At 9.
Goodness gracious. So
Mhm.
as we wrap up, I do have to have you come back. We're
I'm
gonna we're
gonna
gonna
come back because we could listen, child. We could talk. There's like so many things we touched on a lot, but there's so many other things.
so many other things. But I want you to just wrap up, just share, some additional thoughts that you may have for the budding entrepreneur. I want to, also just plug in really quickly. Thank you for sharing your expertise,
Oh, you.
because I appreciate your level of, just talking and speaking from experience and sharing that, in this digital space, we don't have to be perfect, but we need to have some tools in our toolbox. I'm going to pass the mic back over to you. And while you're talking, if okay with you, I'm going to share your website for those who are
Sure,
going to be viewing.
sure.
So just do tell some things that we can wrap up with, some best practices, and have us go.
Yes, absolutely. So I would say that if you are a budding entrepreneur, that you definitely, there's so many resources, especially in New York City, right?
Mm,
Um, that you can, communities that you can become a part of, your accelerators. I think that it is really important to get as much information as possible, right? Before you really, I wouldn't even say launch, but before you really start spending a lot of money and like really going hard forward. The value in that is that you will save yourself a lot of heartache, a lot of mistakes, right? Do the research, speak to other people, get mentors,
mm,
right? Mentorship is something that sometimes people overlook, but somebody who has walked the same path that you are trying to walk can actually prevent you from making a lot of mistakes,
mm.
right? And also, I think this is an amazing time. I try to encourage my students at Lehman to, be entrepreneurial, because this is a time where you actually have the opportunity to create something of your own,
Mm.
right? very different from when I went to college. Like my entire dream was to just climb the corporate ladder because that's what everybody was doing. A lot of us became accidental entrepreneurs, as I like to say. But the energy these days is so very different,
Right.
right? And all you need to do is equip yourself with a different kind of tribe. One thing that I learned when I started my business was that my corporate friends loved them to death, but I had to find other friends because
Mm.
they didn't get it. You know, and anytime I shared I'm having a bad day, they're like, I really don't know why you just don't go find a job. Like that was their, it's all they could tell me. It's like, it's not like you can't. So what is the problem? So I had to build, you're laughing. It's true. You know, that's what they say, right? So I had to go and build my own family of entrepreneurs, people who would say, you know what, Tia, having a bad day is normal. You're gonna have lots of bad days actually, but I know you can do this. There's this group you need to visit. There's this person, da da da, right? By the way, I have a small project. Maybe I can plug you in. See that? And all of a sudden, that horrible day you were having, because you have the right kind of community around you, becomes an okay day. And it just gets better from there. So many small business resources in New York. There's SCORE, there are SBDCs, a company capital if you are of immigrant background. They do accelerators, they give grants, they give loans. You just have to curious enough, right, to go out there and look for the resources.
Be curious enough to get access to the
Mhm.
resources. So I want to thank you. And as I'm thanking you, I want to share your platforms where you are shining. The stylistagroup.com. Had a chance to share that. Please check it out. It is a very, very engaging website. Also on LinkedIn, also on Facebook. And I want to tell you that those specific platforms, you will be able to learn, engage. But I also want to say don't spam. Be respectful and responsible to our peers. It is really important that as we are engaging in business, to be mindful of
Mhm.
what we are actually doing. And what I mean by spam, it's not it's a good thing, but there's so much activity
Right.
that's happening, but just be mindful that there's an opportunity for you to connect and engage. So um two more questions, two just
Sure. Let's do it. Let's do
and
it.
these are this is I almost forgot, this is the rapid fire. two
Okay.
questions two questions. So what's your favorite borough?
It has become Manhattan, specifically Harlem. Used to be
uh,
Brooklyn, but I don't live in Brooklyn anymore.
wow. I thought I was gonna get the role going with Brooklyn based, but Harlem is so loved and welcome here within this platform.
Hilarious. Well, um,
She said
it's
used to be
funny.
Brooklyn.
It's funny. I have a good story about that. How this is how I'm going to redeem myself. So, so the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce has an initiative called Brooklyn Made. Are you familiar with it? They have
Yes,
two
I am.
stores, one in Industry City, one. Okay.
Yes.
So my team built the websites for them. So
Oh, nice.
brooklynmade.com was done by not me, but my team. I don't build websites. I gave the orders. Do this, do that. Yeah. Okay. But when they launched, I did this really well. I thought it was a cool newsletter, and I kind of like tied in. The Stylista Group was founded in Brooklyn, so the Stylista Group was Brooklyn made, and why this, and it's true. This is why this project meant so much to me. Whatever. So you can say that I'm Brooklyn made,
Told
Brooklyn
you.
made, but then moved to Harlem. So
Right.
there
All
you
right.
go.
That's fair. That's fair. Brooklyn made, and the truth is, once you go Brooklyn, you never go back.
You never go back.
That's how I look at it. And the other thing is, what is your preference? Do you wear heels these days, or do you wear sneakers?
Child, I have become part of the sneaker group. I never thought my aunts told me this. I didn't believe them. 4-inch heels, no. I have I have morphed into the cute shiny sneakers and the cute flats with like the sparkles. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Every now and again you'll see the heels, but for the most part.
for pictures only, not for
For
walking.
pictures only.
I love it. I
Wow.
love it. I am so glad to have had you join us today. Thank you so much for your
You're
time.
so
I
welcome.
appreciate your energy. And for those who are watching, you will see why I am a fan. She has such contagious energy. Thank you so much. Again, on the platform, spam, do not. Encourage engagement, absolutely. Here we go. The Stylista Group, check them out. They're here. Patia, thank you so much for joining.
This was so much fun.
Look forward to seeing you again soon. Take good care.
Absolutely.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. So I told you, family, it was an a heartwarming and lively discussion, specifically about how do we become better within the digital marketing space. You definitely want to check out the Stylista Group. And I'm going to plug their information. The stylistagroup.com does exist on a number of different platforms. But I got to tell you, Patia is an amazing being. And please do not hesitate to reach out if you need additional guidance and resources. I wanted to also plug, Patia mentioned that the chambers of commerce and that there are so many resources out there for you to engage in as a new business, just starting out or figuring out. It does exist, and you have the opportunity to tap in to one of these chambers. There are so many resources out there available to you. Those are just a few of the chambers: the Upstate New York Black Chamber, the Brooklyn, the Queens, the Bronx, the Hispanic Chamber. There are so many within New York City and also New York State to help you to become connected to the right tribe. I also want to share that if you're interested in being featured for the real journey of entrepreneurship, we always are looking for courageous members of the business community to share information. We also, if you want to buy ad space, please do not hesitate to email us or DM us on the platforms at 11375. We're so excited to have you join us in sharing resources for other small businesses. And I have to tell you, as you continue to grow your business, it's always great to connect with other individuals and tribes. And this platform and space is no different. But stay tuned for more. Please do not hesitate to follow us, like, share. We are on the social platforms at 11375. We're there, and thank you again for supporting us. Look forward to checking you again soon. Bye bye. This week, I'm thinking about how dope it is to be in business for myself: self employment, business ownership, entrepreneurship, all that good stuff, and why I chose to be in that space. Actually, it wasn't my choice, it was something that I was forced into. But as I'm here in this space, I really think it's dope because I am creating things that I imagine, things that I write on a piece of paper, but it also helps to create, after the number of failures, a real boost of confidence that I have the ability to take something off of a piece of paper, take something that I typed in my phone, and then create it. Your mind is your biggest flex.
Hello, I'm Savannah. Welcome to our third annual Full Circle Business Brunch.
The idea of regularly getting together as a business owner with your employees and talking about safety is really, really important. Find out from the people who are working for you What risks do they see in the workplace? What dangers or hazards are they worried about or are they concerned with, so that you can work together to address them?
My business is called Joshua Prince. I started my business because of my mom, because she has a business.
This is my third time attending Anita's Full Circle Brunch. One of the things that I'm going to take away is like prioritizing my mental health. And one of the things that stuck out to me is like how you talk to yourself.
So many times, something didn't go well that day. We can make it seem like it's the whole business is falling apart, and that's not always the case, right? And we just want to make sure that we're speaking kindly to ourselves.
As entrepreneurs, we're all grinding, right? We're all trying to move to that next task. If I believe I am going to be able to reach my revenue goal for the next month, then I'm going to keep a positive mindset around that. I believe it's happening.
Having a business is like a child, right? And you just really want it to develop, so you really put your all into it. When you have healthy relationships outside of your business, you're going to show up in your business a healthy person. I learned so much about insuring the business and all the various aspects that I need to incorporate personally in my own business.
What I gained from today's session is about credit. That's what struck me the most, was credit, because I'm starting to do credit because I'm a college student and I didn't start my credit yet. So I feel like it's a fundamental thing to start doing.
Having credit is the ability to buy now and pay later. Your score is a 3-digit predictive number, predictive of certain behaviors, which is loan repayment.
It has been a very, very engaging afternoon meeting with other entrepreneurs. And one of the biggest things I've taken away is the need to access capital for my business.
Cash flow is much more than money in the bank. Okay, so we understand that cash flow is the flow of money coming in and out of the account. It's that timing and that gap in between those transactions is which you need to manage.
When you apply for a loan or a credit card, you have to have somebody guaranteeing that credit. That's a way to ensure that the bank has somebody, just in case something was to happen, there's a backup plan, right? Somebody is responsible for that card.
I'm learning how to invest. I'm learning how to build credit for my business. I'm learning how important it is to document and separate business from personal financial accounts. And, I'm ready to get started.
When starting my first business, nobody taught me about investing. Is there a different mindset between being an entrepreneur and being an investor?
It depends on what you are investing in. Are you investing as a passive investor or as an active investor? That changes things. Are you investing with excess capital or the money you need to get back tomorrow?
I am full of joy and gratitude and want to thank you all for taking time to invest in 11375. Welcome to 11375. My name is Anita Pierce, and I am your Chief Experience Officer. At 11375, we offer strategic alignment solutions specific to you and your business goals, and also connecting everything with social impact. So if you are looking for a really amazing organization where we help you to focus your strategy and connecting it with social impact, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We are on all the social platforms, and you can contact us at 11375.